This is our first video of JLab. Here we're going to teach you about Japanese culture, Japanese history, things I had trouble with in Japan, and Japanese pop culture. Our first video is going to be about Spirited Away. The haunted truth of Spirited Away. Spirited Away is one of the highest grossing movies made in Japan and is the most famous movie produced by Studio Ghibli. It is one of my all-time favorite movies, and I believe it is for many. But when I first saw the movie, I was very confused. There were many aspects of the scenes I did not understand. Some of them were because I didn't know some of the religious cultures in Japan, and others were because the messages are hidden unless you really know Hayao Miyazaki. The more I analyzed and the more research I did, the movie became more and more interesting. And because so many people, even Japanese people, don't know about Japanese culture, it is difficult to understand the whole movie. This is why today I want you to know about the research I did and some very interesting theories. In part 1, I will explain about the cultural aspects of the movie and how by knowing this you will be able to see the movie in a whole different aspect and how haunted it actually is. In the second part, I will explain hidden messages and a very convincing theory. Now this is the first scene in the movie, seen by Chihiro's perspective. Chihiro, our main character, as you can see, is not excited about moving. She whines, but her mother is not interested and answers coldly. If this would have been me, I would have been furious with my mother if she had treated me like this. Now, this next scene gives a clear view that they are on normal roads. And from here, there are several signs that Chihiro's family will be haunted. And from here, the story proceeds just like an American horror movie. First of all, this scene shows a damaged pine tree. You might think this is just part of the background, but pine trees are very sacred in Japan. They are usually found in shrines, and the reason why pine trees are so sacred is because it is a pathway for gods from their world to ours. Pine trees are also thought as part of the gods themselves. This damaged pine tree is already a sign of very bad luck. Now we cut to the wooden gate. The gate at the bottom of the tree is called a torii. This is a gateway for sacred places. It is the gate that separates the gods' worlds and ours. The correct manner is to enter a torii is to bow before it, and you must not go through the middle. Chihiro's family does not follow these manners, and the fact that the torii is moved to the side of the road shows that this sacred place has been trampled by. And showing the tree and gate separately emphasizes that they are headed to a place that is punishable by the gods. The end of the road shows that the family are entering a haunted path. Now, this scene emphasizes the tree and torii instead of the new house that the family are going to move into. The family are clearly talking about the house, but you can hardly tell which house it is. Hayao Miyazaki clearly wants you to see how strange this tree and torii is. Once again, The tree and torii are emphasized in this scene where Chihiro notices the small houses at the bottom of the torii. Her mother explains that the houses are for gods. These houses are smaller parts of the shrine, and each house is a home for a god. Although I can only imagine the gods looking like this in such small houses. And you will notice again that they have been clumsily moved to the side of the road, like the torii. This is also punishable behavior. Again, we can see that Chihiro's mother answers her question without making any eye contact. Next, I want you to look at the stone road. Stone roads were only made when leading to sacred places such as shrines, and stone roads were very difficult to make and are a symbol for very special places. The fact that the family are entering such a sacred place with very rough driving is a hint that bad things will happen to them afterwards. This stone statue loosely looks like the other frogs that work in the bathhouse. You would not find statues that look like this in Japan, but in Chihiro's world, this represents the fact that they have entered a haunted place. And from here, Chihiro senses something is not right and starts to feel frightened. The car stops in front of the building, and it is very important to remember the scene to compare at the end of the movie. The sign is not readable, but it's supposed to write Bathhouse, which Hayao Miyazaki instructed the animators to make unreadable. Chihiro, as before, is starting to feel very frightened by how odd this place is. She yearns her parents not to go, but her parents go on anyway, not listening to their daughter's warning. But the warning itself is too late. They have already entered this haunted area and already committed many taboos. As they go on, they reach a small stream where the mother has trouble crossing. The parents make it clear that this stream is actually difficult to cross. But the mother does not help Chihiro and tells her to come quickly in a very cold tone. Look at this poor girl. This scene depicts the weird relationship between Chihiro and her mother. The reason for this will be explained in part 2, which you will find in the link in the description below. In this town, the family enters. You see various odd buildings and signs. The family wander into this strange town, which is somewhere in between our world and the God's world. The father explained that this place is an old theme park from the 80s, but actually is based on theme parks that were made post-war, and many destroyed sacred or important places in Japan. They all went out of business when the post-war economic bubble burst. The parents have now started eating the food that is the last trap of Yubaba. Chihiro doesn't eat, which is the first sign she has no greed. I have no idea what they're eating, but I would have jumped at the food on my first chance. The next scene is the visualization that Chihiro is still in a safe area, but heading to a dark place, which is represented by the shadows on the other side of the road. Here, you will see the bathhouse for the first time, and the bridge represents a pathway for gods. Chihiro is astonished by this place and enters the land of the gods. There she sees many interesting things, and then meets a boy named Haku. When you look at this scene in depth, you can see by his expression that this is not the first time he has seen Chihiro. If it were his first time, he would look more cold instead of surprised. Humans being in this land is odd, but the movie later on makes it clear that Chihiro's family are not the first humans to come here. In this next scene, instead of asking who she is and where she came from, he quickly tells her to leave. He clearly has some sort of feelings for her and is genuinely concerned for her well-being. This is probably how most people will greet intruders. But instead, only warns her, and the reason for this will be explained in the full version on our website, which you can find in the description below. Time starts to move very fast, indicating horror movies and that dangerous things are going to happen. The sun has set already, indicating that this is very different from our world. Here in the shop, strange shadows appear. These are not gods we see later, but ghosts that are haunting this place. The fact that this place used to be sacred and humans built a theme park over it, and furthermore deserted the place, made it an easy spot for ghosts to haunt. Chihiro finds her parents turned into pigs by Yubaba's magic. Until now, we see many ghosts appearing, but it is actually a frog that swaps the pigs away. The frog doesn't really belong here, which indicates that they are workers for Yubaba. They are put here to trap humans. The name of the street Chihiro runs out from after seeing her parents is called Pig Street, seen on the sign, meaning that this street is intentionally there to trap humans and turn them into pigs. This sign says, "Come in," and the signs are written backwards, which shows that this was made in the earlier 1900s. Now signs are written from left to right, but this one is written from right to left. Chihiro leaves her parents and screams for them for a while, but she calls on her father more than she does her mother. She then comes across a frog statue pouring water out of its mouth, filling the field Chihiro came from. You can see that the water is deeper than her waist. The water is now like an ocean and shows that it is impossible for her to cross. Now, these are the real gods. They have no body at all. Only when they land do they start to appear. This scene divides the gods and the ghosts that appear earlier. Chihiro starts to disappear because she does not belong in this world. Only when she eats what Haku gives her, she becomes able to live in the god world. Now we cut to the end of the movie. This also shows the difference in time. Chihiro only stayed in the god's world for 3 nights and 4 days. But in our world, that is equivalent to about a month. The difference of the tunnel from the first scene shows that Chihiro has done right and the curse has been lifted from her family. This is the first scene. Now they will be able to go home safely. You can see that Chihiro and her family had entered a haunted and sacred place. Now you can see why the world Chihiro and her family entered was haunted. It was a sacred place that people built a theme park over and furthermore deserted. Chihiro and her family makes the mistake of entering this place and barge in without noticing that this is a sacred place. The beginning of the movie starts like a horror movie, where a family moves to a new place and encounters strange ghosts. Only when Chihiro has lifted the curse, the family are set free, and the tunnel has turned into a whole different place. Also, the statue being gone indicates that they have finally left the haunted area. When researching about this, I was surprised by how detailed this setting was made. The studio had made so much effort into making the setting and showing children a horror movie without them being too scared. This is the end of part 1. I hope you enjoyed it and see more in part 2. The link will be in the description below.